Today's top stories at NBR: gap in advisory market for private business transactions between 10 and 100 million identified, a tumultuous year for A2 Milk, MPI invests in hemp, and there's more coming right up. Kia ora and welcome to NBR Today, a wrap of the day's top business stories from the authority in New Zealand business news since 1970, nbr.co.nz. It's Wednesday, November 17th. I'm Paul Brennan. Thanks again for joining us. From December 15th, Aucklanders who have been vaccinated or have had a negative COVID-19 test will be free to travel around the country. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said those not fully vaccinated would have to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of leaving Auckland. This requirement would be in place until January 17th.
We now have the unique advantage, though, of moving into the next phase of managing COVID-19 with a highly vaccinated population and with a plan. Our plan is a simple one: to carefully reopen while continuing to protect New Zealanders' lives and livelihoods.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern. Tiaki director Kenneth Leong only announced its launch this month, but already is working on 10 active deals and has a pipeline of more than 20 further transactions waiting in the wings. It's identified a gap in the advisory market for private business transactions worth between 10 and 100 million, which it believes is too small for the top end of investment banks and the big four accounting firms, but too large to be properly served by business brokers. Tiaki has been operating in its current form for about 2 months, but in reality it's a familiar enterprise for Leong and fellow director Paulus Rege. New Plexure Chief Executive Daniel Houden has only been in the role for just over a month, but has already announced it's rationalising its resource pool after costs blew out seeking sales growth, which did not occur. A consultation process with staff was announced this morning, and the company's dual listing might be consolidated to a single exchange after an operational review identified fairly large cash burn for a business of its scale. The mobile engagement firm today announced its net loss in the 6 months ended September 30 had nearly doubled to 8.5 million, which included 2.1 million related to its acquisition of an Australian transaction platform provider in September. After what he described as a tumultuous year, A2 Milk chair David Hearn shrugged off criticism from shareholders at the company's annual meeting today, saying the plunging share price was down to external factors. The online forum featured several questions from disgruntled shareholders about the milk market's share price, which has fallen from above $20 last August to around $6.30 today. Asked whether the loss of value is due to mismanagement and overpaid directors, Hearn said he hoped the earlier presentation to the meeting demonstrated it was caused by external issues we don't have control over. He said, "I don't fundamentally see it was down to poor management or overpaid directors." The share price was simply responding to the fall in the business in its core Chinese infant formula market, and that he'd never seen a market move as quickly as this. A second local niche technology company looks set to follow the lead of NZX-listed Raycon and position itself as a global provider to the world's fast-transforming semiconductor industry. Christchurch-based SIFT, which makes mass spectrometer sensors that measure air contaminants, announced its half-year results today, during which CEO Alex Falla explained the company saw enormous opportunity in the semiconductor sector for its sensors. It intends to start targeting it aggressively by ramping up marketing and sales support to markets, including the US and Europe. MPI is investing nearly $250,000 into a Levin hemp seed processing plant that aims to enable locally grown hemp food products to compete with imported varieties. The ministry is contributing over $245,000 from its Sustainable Food and Fibre Futures Fund to the 2-year pilot being carried out by Hemp Connect, which is working towards more efficient use of the entire hemp seed with minimal wastage. MPI's contribution makes up 10% of the project funding. Hemp Connect Managing Director and co-founder Matthew Johnson said traditionally the cost of importing hemp food has been significantly cheaper than producing it locally. Get the full details of those stories and more at nbr.co.nz right now. Tomorrow at NBR, political editor Brent Edwards argues the case that 25 years on, MMP has not been the disaster its critics feared. Plus, Hamish McNichol looks at Sharesies' annual investor survey. I'm Paul Brennan. I look forward to being with you again tomorrow from around lunchtime for the morning's NBR trending stories. Then same time, same place, right here again from 5:30 tomorrow for another NBR Today.